Yeah, I've cried many times watching this movie, and I wouldn't even consider myself a crier.
Welcome to WatchMojo's Poppin the Culture, your weekly entertainment touchpoint. And me, well, I'm your host with the most mojo, of course. That's right, it's me, Mr. Hollywood, Matt Demers. Another amazing show coming your way. I'm going to be speaking with a young actor by the name of Will Ropp. He is in a HBO movie titled The Fallout. Don't want to miss this chat. But we're going to have all kinds of fun, and we're kicking things off with a jump into those Hollywood headlines. All right, as we do each and every show, we kick things off with a look at some of the more interesting developments out there in Hollywood. I always need help breaking it down, and I'm always happy to bring back the WatchMojo Lady herself. Hey, Rebecca, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm excited to chat with you. I think, I'll save the tease for later, but we're doing a category in Beyond the List that I think's right up me and your alley. Well, that's all I'll tease. That's all I'll tease. Hey, speaking of which, though, this one, I'm curious if you watched the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because the news now is that the Bel-Air, the reboot, remake, if you will, is coming our way very, very shortly, February 13th on Peacock and streaming elsewhere around the world. This, of course, Will Smith was starring in the original. He is producing this one, but we've got all new actors. And I don't know if you've seen the trailer, Rebecca, but
I
it's
have.
a very different tone, something a little more serious. I'm curious on your take, but first, did you watch that original Fresh Prince?
Oh, yeah. I watch it in syndication all the time. Have my favorite moments. Do the Apache dance all the time. Yeah, definitely up my alley.
No. Yeah, no, me too. As soon as I came home from school, this was on. I think it was like Fresh Prince. They rotated it. Sometimes it was Home Improvement, sometimes Full House. Family Matters for sure, but Fresh Prince was always a go-to. So I've seen like every episode of the original. So I'm intrigued by this. Is it too serious because it's a very different tone?
I don't really consider this, like, I know it's the same story, but I don't think it's a reboot. I just kind of consider it separate because it's apples and oranges. I mean, to me, The Fresh Prince was all about the comedy, pretty much.
Yeah.
I guess this is just taking that interesting story that, I mean, they did explore it, but just exploring it kind of from a different aspect. So while I'm not necessarily going to say I'm going to watch it, I definitely think there is a place for it.
And all the characters are back. Like, you'll have your Hillary, you'll have your Uncle Phil. Everyone will be there, and they're all kind of different. The kid that's playing Will in this, he's like a fresh kind of newcomer on the scene. One out
Fresh,
in
you say?
One out in audition. He seems likable, but yeah, it's going to be strange because when I think of the Fresh Prince, I think of Will Smith, right? Yeah. To do that particular character without Will Smith, I mean, that just seems almost sacrilegious.
Well, I mean, it is him, isn't it? It's like kind of an autobiographical thing to an extent.
To an extent, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I'm intrigued. I am going to be checking it out. So I'm curious if other people out there are going to be watching as well. Which begs the question, because once one of these things takes off, let's say this is a hit. Well, Rebecca, they're just going to do more. Is there any other shows that you think might get that kind of serious remake? Any sitcoms?
I mean, Full House could definitely be serious.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's this guy trying to raise his daughters after his wife dies. So, like, it's already serious for a sitcom. I'd love to see no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't at all love to see this. But can you imagine, like, a Perfect Strangers but serious?
Yeah, I would love. I too would love to see that. Saturday Night Live did a spoof of a Family Matters version of this Fresh Prince, which I thought was hilarious. But yeah, no. I mean, like I said,
does Carl get shot because he's a cop? No.
Yeah, they explore all kinds of stuff in that little trailer. But it'll be interesting to see if this is a hit or not. I think they've got a good chance. Especially with Will Smith on board. That's always a good sign when they are part of it, because you see a lot of these remakes or reboots where like the person who was in the original or known for it isn't even involved. So it's a big key. Okay. I am very much excited for a movie coming up. I think Batman might be to me what Spider-Man is to you, Rebecca.
I'm actually more of a Superman person.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I know. No one knows that. I was.
I think we
But
all
that's a
just
whole other
assume
story.
you're Spider-Man because of the your BFF Tom Holland. But where are you with the Batman fandom?
It's funny actually. While I say I was more of a Superman person, I think I've seen more Batman movies. I mean, there have been a lot of Batman movies, to be fair, but I think I've seen more Batman movies than any other character and enjoyed them. So, and the show. Love the show. R.I.P. Adam West. So, yeah, and Batman and Robin were my invisible friends as a child. So, I have a Batman robe that I wear around the office, so...
Wow, who knew? Who knew? Okay, well, listen, the Batman movie is highly, highly anticipated, especially for me. We're getting a few tidbits now. We're getting more images, and boy, does it look great. It looks incredibly gritty, even though, Rebecca, rating-wise, it's PG-13. But the visuals that I see look very much not that, but, I mean, we'll see. The other headline that's coming out about this movie is that its runtime will be just shy of 3 hours. That's right, 3 hours of Batman on your screens. It's going to be the longest of any film starring The Dark Knight. Longest any
Really?
Batman. Yes, the longest.
Okay.
And it'll be it's only been topped by the Avengers Endgame as a superhero movie that's played in theaters, because Zack Snyder's Justice League was 4 hours? But just shy of beating Avengers Endgame. So it's going to be a long one.
I thought The Dark Knight would be long, because that is one of those movies, I say this all the time, that so much happens in that movie where someone says, hey, that's the one where they go to China or wherever they go. And it has all that spying stuff, and I'm like, that's that movie? Like, it's so long and so much happens in it. So I just predict that for this one as well.
It's like 5 movies in one. By the way, The Dark Knight's one of my favorite movies. I love it.
Oh, it's a great movie, obviously, but a lot of stuff happens.
I mean, is this going to turn people off? Because I remember Dune, when that came out and they announced that their runtime was almost like I think a little under 3 hours as well. People were like, I don't know if I'm going to watch it now. That seemed to be the reaction to that. Do you think that's going to have this effect on Batman? Do people generally not like long movies?
I think people are sick of long movies, but I will say Dune and the Batman are very different films, presumably. Dune is kind of a slow burn, so it's a long 3 hours, whereas I feel like an action-packed movie like the Batman is going to be not a long 3 hours.
You nailed it. As long as they keep the action, which I'm sure they will, and boy, does it look fantastic. So, spoiler, if you watch this program, you're going to hear me talk a lot about the Batman in the weeks to come. Speaking of the weeks to come, there is a little holiday coming our way, Valentine's Day. Rebecca, we were asking my guests here on the show to drop some recommendations, some picks for things that people might want to check out. Now, you could also go the route of anti-Valentine's Day. There's some genres that kind of fit in that. But what do you think? Valentine's Day, if someone wants to cuddle up on their couch with their significant other or their pet cat or dog, what should they be watching?
Well, I gave a lot of thought to this, and originally I wanted to come up with something that wasn't necessarily a romantic movie, but I settled on The Proposal, which is a very romantic movie, but I haven't seen it in a while. So this is probably what I'll watch. Sandra Bullock, Ryan Reynolds, and Betty White, which is my main reason for suggesting it at this current time. She is fantastic in that movie. I cannot get past, there's a scene where she's fitting Sandra Bullock for her wedding dress, and I cannot get out of that scene without absolutely bawling like a baby. And it's going to be even worse now that she has passed. But anyway, great movie. And it's got the feels. It's gonna get me in my feels. It's also like funny, and I haven't seen it in a long time, so.
I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's a great pick. And Ryan Reynolds, remember when he just mainly did like rom-coms?
Well, look, I don't want to age myself here, but I called Ryan Reynolds Berg for, I want to say a good 10 years, because I know him from Two Guys, a Girl in the Pizza Place, which was a kind of a rom-com TV show from the 90s.
They really, I remember this too, and I remember them trying to really make this show work. It was Two Guys, a Girl Pizza Place, and then they changed it to Two Guys and a Girl, and they kept trying to change the night it was on because they're like trying to make this show work. It didn't last too long, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Never watched it.
Oh, I mean, I'm not saying watch it now and it'll be good. I have not revisited it because it was never like in syndication. But anyway, I thought it was a good show.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other Valentine? Any other V-Day picks?
Scream? I don't know.
You say that, but people love watching horror.
I know. My Bloody Valentine?
Yeah, no. People love watching their horror films. And I think those like teen slashes are great ones this time of year. So yeah, I would champion Scream during Valentine's Day. I might just watch it. Have you seen the new one, by the way? I'm actually a little annoyed because where I am, theaters are currently shuttered.
Same.
And it happened right when Scream was released. I was like, can we wait just maybe a few more days? So I haven't seen it, and I'm dying to because I am a huge fan of that. So you haven't seen it either?
Same exact story. Huge fan. Movies, theaters closed like the week it came out. So.
Yeah, so there you go.
At least I got to see Spider-Man in the theater, though.
Hey, that's the must-watch movie of the year, maybe of the decade, folks, if you haven't seen it, Spider-Man. Okay, Rebecca, I teased it. We're going to have some fun now because me and you, we're going to go beyond the list. All right, Rebecca, we are going to go beyond the list, and what that means is we dig deep in the vast archives of WatchMojo. We pluck out an old top 10, and we go with some more takeaways, personal opinions. This is all about me and you. What do we think? Did WatchMojo get it right or wrong? Today is all about the nostalgia. Nostalgia's king here because it's top 10 most 90s TV shows of all time. The most 90s. So what that means is we're looking at shows that embodied the style, the culture, the ethos of the era, and to become just iconic 90s shows. So we talked about one earlier, so I'm curious if Fresh Prince makes that list because I remember that being pretty big during that decade. And yeah,
I feel like it would be on it.
I can almost probably put some money on it. I'm going to age myself too. I've probably seen all these shows rather. So when it actually aired live. Okay, number 10, and I want you to be honest if you've seen it or whether you liked it. Number 10 is a good one. It's Saved by the Bell. It actually started
when I wake up in the morning, the alarm gives out at 1 and I think I'm gonna make it on time. Never seen the show. Never.
Of course.
Joking, of course.
Just the theme song. So good. And so cheesy, but like so good.
It almost feels like an 80s show.
Well, I was going to say that it started in 1989, so it did start right at the end of that decade, but it went well into the mid-90s, and all like the colors and clothing is very much 90s.
And the morals of the stories. So many morals. So many lessons.
No. I love Jessie's she's
I'm so excited.
She's addicted to the pills.
Yeah.
And she's like, she has that breakdown. I'm so excited. So great. And we lost the actor that played Screech this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad. But they did do the reboot, so you'll probably see a lot on this list where they do the reboots. I mean, Fresh Prince. I mean, hello.
You know, I bet the networks took the list and were like, all right, let's reboot these, and then started just ticking them off.
Let's reboot it. I watched that new Saved by the Bell. It's not too bad. I think they still capture some of the fun, but the show is so 90s that it's hard to fit it into today's environment, I find.
I get it. I have not seen the reboot, update, sequel, whatever you want to call it. But I
wouldn't call it a must-watch, but it is a distraction. Oh, I love number 9, and by the way, I'm shocked that it's only number 9 here. It's The X-Files. WatchMojo, come on. This one should be way, way closer. This is very 90s. Scully, Mulder, and I mean, they've done movies, and well, speaking of reboots, they've put it back on our TV screens in the past couple of years. But I can watch an X-Files episode all day long. Man, this was such good stuff. You must have watched this.
I have never seen a minute of the X-Files.
Now, are you being serious?
Yes.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
You haven't watched an episode of the X-Files.
It was on Sundays at 9 after The Simpsons and something else, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Sunday night is when I always did my homework, so I never saw the X-Files.
What? Did you see the movies?
Nope, never seen it. Never seen anything about the X-Files.
I'm actually Rebecca. I'm actually very much shocked. I could have pegged you as an X-File. That's what they call their fans, but they call it PHILE. Because
Right.
I'm an X-File. I can't believe you haven't seen the X-Files. You got to get into this. Every episode,
I think I could like it, but just never.
You know what it was? So back in the 90s, you didn't have your Breaking Bads, your Mad Men, your Ozark. So TV was kind of different, but the X-Files was very much that kind of prestige show. It was filmed very cinematic. It was moody. It just felt like you were watching something good. Man, Rebecca, you got to get on that train.
Sorry.
It's not too late. It's not too late. Okay, number 8. Well, I'd be shocked if you didn't see Family Matters.
Of course. Family Matters. I mean,
Urkel.
I was more of a Perfect Strangers fan, which was not the prequel series, but Family Matters was a spin-off of Perfect Strangers.
Now that's number 2 that you've mentioned Perfect Strangers twice now.
I'm just gonna look. It's top of mind. It's always top of mind. Anytime I can slip it into conversation. No, I loved Family Matters as well. It was super fun, but like in a very light way. These are having X-Files and Family Matters back to back is like a very different experience. But
again, looking at the 90s, it is a very 90s show.
Yeah.
I love the opening theme songs for sitcoms in the 90s, and I guess you could say the 80s too, where it's like they would have the person's name and they'd be like doing the dishes, and then they would look. You know what I mean?
Yes,
it was always some like Family Matters was great for that. It was like, Eddie playing basketball, he'd make the shot and then he would look at the camera, smile. So good. There was, I don't know if you remember, there was at the beginning of this first season, there was a character, Laura, or Judy,
no.
sorry, Laura stuck around, but Judy just disappeared. They never mentioned it. That was weird.
I know. She just went upstairs to her room and never came down.
She never came down.
Yeah.
It was terrible. They needed the money to pay to bring Urkel back as a full timer. Okay, number 7.
No, they need to pay Stefan Urkel.
He probably demanded extra money for all the characters. Home Improvement is number 7. Tim the Toolman Taylor.
That's a very 90s show.
JTT. I argue that Jonathan Taylor Thomas was probably the biggest star in that show at one point in the 90s.
Pam Anderson.
Oh, hey, I forgot about Pam Anderson. That's right. And,
I mean, she wasn't huge. She left the show because she got really popular.
Yeah.
I think. And then they had, I don't remember what her name was. But anyway. But yeah, JTT, very important. Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Simba.
Yeah.
Everybody's crush. Not mine. I don't know. He wasn't.
In the 90s, they had those, like, I don't know if they still have these. I'm trying to
magazines?
think of this. Yeah, but there was one titled Tiger Beat. Is that
Tiger Beat.
Okay.
Yeah, and they always had like the pull-out posters that you'd like see on the wall. Yeah.
I remember girls at school having Tiger Beat magazine.
Totally.
With like all these teen boys on it. It's a very strange time. Okay.
Why is that strange?
Because it's like teen boys. It's like they're on like I don't know. I guess we didn't have it for like.
Did you not have posters up? Who did you have posters of?
That's true. I did of like Heather Locklear and so on and so forth. But it wasn't like
that's weirder. At least JTT's age appropriate.
Yeah, I know it is very strange because Heather Locklear is my celebrity crush, but arguably she was more popular in the '80s. It's a strange thing. Okay. By the way, if Melrose Place isn't on this list, I might be flipping a table.
I feel like it's not. I feel like 90210 is on, and that was probably we probably mentioned Melrose Place.
You're probably
That's
right.
my guess.
Well, we're getting close to the halfway point. Let's keep it going with Twin Peaks. Now, I gave you a lot of guff for not watching X-Files. I didn't watch Twin Peaks. But
Really?
But I know
There's so much less commitment involved.
I know people that did, and I know people that love it, and I know people that love it a lot. They also brought it back, and people like, you got to watch the new Twin Peaks, but because I never watched the original, never really got into watching the later ones. But yeah, no, people loved it.
So I watched Twin Peaks, obviously not when it was on, but I watched it within the last 10 years. And I watched it once. Like, I haven't rewatched it. It's good. It falls off a lot in the second season. I could not get into the reboot at all.
Oh, no?
It was so weird. Like, it was too much for me. I can't.
Well, it's a David Lynch joint, right? David Lynch?
Yeah. Is it ever?
Yeah. So sometimes he hits it out of the park. Sometimes could be a little iffy. Who killed Laura Palmer? The big mystery kept people tuning in. That was a big thing in the 90s. Who killed her? Who shot people, right?
Ooh, that's a good list. We should do that.
Mystery shot. What was the one The Simpsons spoofed? Who Shot JR was the original, right?
Yeah, Who Shot Mr. Burns? And that actually had a Twin Peaks parody in it.
Oh, yeah?
So there you go. Yes, it did.
Okay, you were absolutely right about Beverly Hills 90210. That lands at the halfway point. And you're right, they do mention Melrose Place in there. Not going to argue too much because, yeah, I do think 90210 is quintessential 1990s. Obviously, 90s was big on the primetime soap opera, right? And this was the teen one. They kept trying to come up with. I remember they tried to get knockoffs of 90210. There's one called like Malibu Shore or something like that.
Yeah.
None of them stuck. 90210 was king. Yeah, so great. And they tried to bring this back.
That's another show I've never seen a minute of.
Oh, no?
Actually, that's not true. My friends made me watch it once on a Mexico vacation. And I was like, please make it stop. Not my vibe. Not for me.
Well, they did try to reboot it a few times. There was one that was like an actual sequel where, like, we had like the offspring.
Same characters.
Yeah, the characters were the parents this time around. And then they tried to do this kind of strange meta where like the actors were playing fictionalized versions of themselves, trying to do a reboot.
See, that's interesting.
It was interesting, but it didn't work. People hated it.
That's too bad.
Because they just wanted to see the actual characters. What are they up to now? They don't want to see this whole meta thing. Yeah. Okay, number 4. Oh, Rebecca, this is for me and you. A little Seinfeld. At number 4. Yeah, I mean, who in the 90s wasn't quoting Jerry, George, Elaine, Kramer?
True.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about Seinfeld. Seinfeld, we wouldn't have so many 90s shows if it weren't for Seinfeld. It's actually low at 4. I'm surprised it's only at 4. Although I assume I think I know what number 1 is. But I don't know what else is above it.
I think you're right. The influence of Seinfeld was huge. The show about friends hanging out was started from Seinfeld, right?
Yes.
Friends hanging out, having coffee, to be specific. So, no, but that show, I mean, I still watch this all the time. Like, I'll watch, I'll try to go to bed, and then I'll come across a Seinfeld rerun. I'm like, I'll just watch this. I'll just watch this Seinfeld episode, right? I just got to. And they still hold up, and they're so funny. And I think it has everything to do with the cast. I think if you interchange any one of them, make any of those characters or actors different, it just would have changed the whole show. It just worked perfectly. And and I think Jerry and Larry David have said in interviews you couldn't do that show today.
Nope.
Based on the environment, social environment that we live in. So
they're just so unlikable. If you really get down to brass tacks, they're real jerks.
So
and I am now in a phase of television where I really want to like at least one person in a show. I don't know if that's too much to ask. That's why I feel like Ted Lasso is the anti-Seinfeld.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, and Jerry was the worst. Now the more I rewatch Seinfeld,
Is he? No, George is the worst.
Yeah, George is pretty despicable. But there's one episode where Kramer's trying to get Jerry to come with him to watch the surgery, right? Because you can have spectators watch
Junior Mints.
The Junior Mints episode, yeah. And Jerry's he's taking a sip of his coffee and he's like, "All right, let me finish my coffee and then we'll go watch him cut this fat bastard up." Like that's actually what he says.
Oh yeah.
On the show. So great.
Is he smirking when he says it?
Of course.
Probably.
Of course.
This guy.
So great. Number 3, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yes. Although.
Do you want to hear another show that I've never seen a second of?
Yeah, no, you know what? I can say that I haven't watched. I maybe have seen 1 or 2 episodes. I remember watching more of the spinoff Angel for some reason. But this is a Joss Whedon show. These have not. He hasn't aged well, his reputation. But the shows that he has been on haven't as well because of, well, all the stuff that he's tied up in now.
Well, I mean, I like to think that the show stands on its own because
Separated.
of the actors. Like, even
Yeah.
like the people. And that's
Sarah
tough.
Michelle,
That's really tough.
Sarah Michelle Gellar, huge star. She was the lead in here. But I remember that being a big show and big deal, and that also paved the way for all those like CW.
Oh yeah, can you
shows.
imagine?
You wouldn't have Smallville without this one, and without Smallville, you wouldn't have the CW Arrowverse or whatever we're calling it these days. So we can all thank Buffy the Vampire Slayer for paving that road. Number 2, hey Rebecca, are you sitting down? Number 2 on this list.
I am.
Friends. It didn't crack number
shoot!
1.
I thought that was number 1.
Yeah, no, I would have put money on it too. Friends is number 2 here. Just iconic. I don't know if there's really much we can say to. How amazing!
No show influenced the vernacular, the fashion, television in general.
Hair.
I know this
the
is
Rachel.
a hot take. Yeah, the hair. I got the Phoebe, but that's a different story. I think it's a hot take that it influenced more than Seinfeld, but I think Friends has aged on the whole better than Seinfeld.
I think so too.
I'm not saying it's not funny. It's like I'm not saying Seinfeld isn't funnier than Friends, but I think it's kind of like today's shows resemble Friends more than Seinfeld.
You're right. No, you're right. I think Seinfeld was so unique in that sense that but yeah, Friends. How I Met Your Mother and all these shows, it's just Friends. Takeaways. Okay,
wait. Don't tell me what number 1 is.
Well, do you want the honorable mentions? Name some shows.
Sure.
Maybe they're on honorable mentions.
Oh, nuts. Well, I was thinking Sex and the City. But not on a WatchMojo list. Frasier?
No, but that's a good one. That's a good one. I don't know. Yeah, no, not Frasier.
90s shows. Nuts. I don't know.
Slow motion running on a beach.
Oh yeah, I did think of Baywatch.
Yeah,
I did think of Baywatch when we were talking about Pamela Anderson.
Honorable mention is Baywatch. You know that was like the most watched show of the 90s, and it was on syndication, and it was like having higher ratings than like actual network shows. Full House is on honorable mentions. That was, and Blossom is our other honorable mention. Meaning, the number 1 show of the 90s was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yep, Duh. Fresh Prince.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, you know what? Everything about the show, the theme and the outfits and it's just very 90s and it's so great. So again, be interesting to see how we're able to make that show live in the present day. So there you go. A little trip.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a product of its time in terms of the stories. So I think it could easily make the jump to now.
Yeah, I know. And listen, a lot of the storylines from that show are incredibly timely today. I remember when, a lot of the marches were taking place, Black Lives Matter, people were sharing, memes and clips from The Fresh Prince, a show that happened in the 90s because of all the timeliness that was tackled there. There's also a really great acting. I mean, the show tackled serious stuff. Do you remember the scene where Will, his father comes back?
Oh my God.
And then the final scene's him with Uncle, he flips out at Uncle Phil, and then that's a great acting performance, and just so emotional. So if they can replicate that in the new show, then they got it made. Rebecca,
good luck. Yes.
I can't thank you enough for bringing the fun once again here on the program. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be here.
All right, everybody, it is now time to go to our Mojo Chat of the Week. Here he is, the young actor Will Ropp. All right, my guest today is a fantastic actor, and I can't wait to talk to him all about a new movie that he's in called The Fallout. Hey, Will, how's it going, by the way?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing better now that I'm talking with you.
Oh, you're too kind. Too kind.
Well, let's talk about this movie, and I'm excited to jump into it. The Fallout. This is coming to HBO Max, and this is something different. Really, a bit of a different take on that teen drama that we might be used to, dealing with some really interesting subjects. I'll let you kind of. I always like, actors when they kind of set the stage themselves. I mean, you're the one that worked on the film, so let people know what they can expect out of this one.
Yeah, it's a very, as you said, interesting take on a trauma event that occurs at a school, and it basically kind of takes us through, quote unquote, the fallout of the emotional journey that occurs for the main character Veda after she experiences this tragedy, and it's an incredible, amazing coming of age story that truly, I think, speaks on a topic that doesn't get enough publicity and awareness. I think it's an excellent example of how we respond to tragedy and how we deal with it and how it affects us mentally and how it affects different people in different ways. And not everybody has the same, I guess, path of grief and recovery when experiencing these horrific events.
No, I think you're right. Everyone, and going back to that high school dynamic, everyone's path in that particular setting is completely different. What was your relationship with school and high school? Did it correlate with your character here a little bit?
I mean, I can't really, I don't think it really, I don't think I can kind of like speak on it personally. Like, I don't think there's a lot of crossover between, the character and myself as far as high school goes, but I definitely, like, I grew up in Connecticut, kind of around the time of the Newtown shootings at Sandy Hook. And I remember that just really, really, blowing my mind and just being so horrific. And I had young siblings in school at the time. So it was just kind of, that's I think the closest I've ever come to experiencing something like this. But it's just, it's a horrific occurrence that seems to be getting more and more common in our country.
Should viewers have tissues on hand watching the Fallout? Is it gonna get you? Is it one of those?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I've cried many times watching this movie, and I wouldn't even consider myself a crier. It has a very emotional impact on most people when they watch it. Is what I've observed.
Well, I can tell you what, Will, you seem to know how to pick the right movies that really tug at the heartstrings, because I'm excited to talk with you because I was a big fan of you in another movie with Mr. Ben Affleck, The Way Back.
Yes. Yeah, that's a tearjerker as well.
I want to call that, was that kind of like your breakthrough? Did you find, like, after doing that movie that, as an actor, you kind of were brought more to the forefront?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it kind of opened doors of opportunity. You start getting the opportunity to audition for, cooler and more projects when you have a cool movie like that come out. And yeah, I think, and I learned so much during the process, just like, on how to be an actor, how to be a good member of a set, and that's a lot of thanks goes to Ben during that filming for that. So I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, I love me some Ben Affleck. What a great actor.
Yeah.
And what a great movie that was. You touched on that for being a young actor and finding these movies and learning stuff. What kind of advice do you think you might give? Because I know a lot of people that are watching this are being like, I want to be like Will. I want to do movies. That's kind of my dream. Or I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Be careful what you wish for. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I think I would say never lose the love for the craft. The actual nuts and bolts of scene study and discovering a character and finding the through line and finding your motivation. Like I think you just have to stay obsessed with the craft and the art form. And it's easy to get carried away with, for instance, publicity or, like all sorts of different aspects of the industry. But like at the end of the day, you have to remember that this is an art form that you love for a reason. And if you lose that, then it starts to become a job, not for fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The craft first, red carpets later, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know
virtual red carpets.
There you go. Magazine shoots. Oh, that's bonus. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, you're in a movie coming out. I don't know how much. I know there's a lot of rules what you can tease or what you can say, what you can't say. But this movie, it's called The Greatest Beer Run Ever. Okay. Yep. You're in this, right? I'm not making this up.
Yeah. I think I'm in it. I hope I'm in it.
Can you tell us anything about it? First of all, the title's great, but this is based on a true story.
Yeah, it's based off a book. It's an amazing story about this young guy who grows up in Inwood, New York. It's kind of like a subregion of Brooklyn, and he kind of feels bad about all of his friends serving in Vietnam. And kind of, getting a lot of flack from the public and, criticizing the war. And so he decides he's going to go to Vietnam and he's going to give each of his friends a beer, like literally during the war. And that's what he does. He gets on a boat to Saigon and he goes and, he gives everybody a beer. And I don't think I'm spoiling anything because it's based off a book, but I'm one of the buddies that he goes and hunts down. So it was an amazing thing to film. We got to go to Bangkok, Thailand and film for a month. And it was just a crazy, crazy experience.
Yeah, it looks like another must watch on your filmography. So that's awesome. Will, before I go, tell us a little bit about yourself. Outside of acting, what other kind of interests do you have? We saw you play basketball in the way back. Is that something you do? Are you a sports guy or not so much?
Yeah, I'm a huge sports guy. I'm primarily a University of Michigan Wolverine sports fanatic, both football and basketball. We just went to the college football playoff, so I was very excited about that. So yeah, I'm a diehard football fan, basketball fan, all sorts of sports really. And I just love, I don't know, a random thing that I do. I like smoking meats, like barbecue meats. Like I have a smoker on my porch that me and my brother will just like smoke a brisket overnight. It's just like a random kind of pastime that I've taken up during the quarantine.
Amazing. Backyard barbecues at your house. That sounds awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. On me. Yeah.
Hey, I'll take you up on that for sure. Hey, Will, I can't thank you enough for your time today. And we do want to encourage everyone out there to check out the movie, The Fallout. All right, well, that's going to do it for another episode, everybody. My thanks, of course, to the WatchMojo Lady herself, Rebecca Brayton, who always brings the fun. And, of course, Will Ropp. What a great actor. Can't wait to see what he jumps into next. And, hey, thank you for watching and listening. Till next time, I've been Mr. Hollywood, Poppin the Culture.